in front of a natural break station. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
This week, why you're not a wuss. Getting cold might not actually be your fault.
We've also got our take on the controversy at the World Championships in the under-23 race. We've got Unicorn P bike components and all of your regulars.
Yeah, all of our regulars, except for Wiggle. And we've got to say a huge thank you to them for their support of the GCN Show over the past 18 months.
This week in the world of cycling, we learned that we are not very good at predictions.
Marianne Vos, Gilbert,
Valverde, Van der Poel,
Lizzie Dagen,
Lizzie Peter Sagan,
Alaphilippe,
Van der Poel, Marianne Vos,
Trentin, Nuvia Doma,
Marianne Vos.
Well, hang on a minute, Dan. Not so fast. What about this?
Annemiek van Vleuten.
Yes! Not often I get it right, / never, so we're not going to skim over that, mate.
There were 2 predictions correct out of 20
Yes.
with 10 presenters there. But we really did excel ourselves in the men's predictions this year, didn't we? Because
Yeah.
not only do we not predict the winner, we also, in a 37-minute preview show, never mentioned the winner once.
No, we didn't, did we? Never mind. Now, we also learned this week that professional cyclists should be afraid, very afraid, of Chloe Daiger Owen. The very day the GCN show about the fastest generation ever was released last week, Daiger Owen absolutely demolished the women's time trial field at the age of just 22.
She really did, didn't she? In fact, that was the largest winning margin ever in the history of the UCI World Championships individual time trial, men or women. And you wonder what she's going to go on to achieve in the sport. It's going to be a lot of fun finding out.
It is. Unless you happen to be a young female professional cyclist, in which case it'd be terrifying.
Or even old, actually, for that matter.
Well, that's right, maybe retirement. Hey, come join us at GCN.
Now, like the women's individual time trial, the men's road race on Sunday was run off in pretty horrific weather conditions, and it threw up some rather surprising results, didn't it?
Surprising, that's why we didn't predict him.
What it did do was confirm the immense talent of youngster Mads Pedersen, who won on the absolute biggest stage, whilst at the same time, a lot of the pre-race favourites suffered in the cold and wet, didn't they?
They did, pre-race favourites that were covered from head to toe in wet and cold weather gear, whereas Pedersen, meanwhile, seemed to be racing, only in a skin suit with no thermal undervest.
And then watching the race, and then in particular reading some of the post-race interviews, got us wondering about how some people are able to cope with adverse weather conditions. Because I, for one, had always made this assumption that you cope with them through being as hard as nails.
Yeah, as in some riders are just kind of mentally tougher than others.
Exactly, yes. But then when you watch some of those riders who were frozen so much that they were almost completely inactive, and then other riders who completely blew up whilst in a race-winning position, Mathieu van der Poel, made me start to think, it can't be down to just willpower.
No, well, we've had a little look, haven't we? There's not that much research out there in terms of cycling and cold weather performance, but, or not that we could find anyway, but there does seem to be quite a bit about cold weather performance and Nordic skiing.
A subject which Si now thinks he's an expert on.
Oh yes. Well, it's interesting. The research shows that despite when working at near maximal exertion, you can still get quite significant decrease in your muscle temperature, okay? Which is really significant because they've shown that just a 1% decrease in muscle temperature can result in a 10% decrease in your like muscle exertion force, basically. And given that they've recorded, muscles 3 or 4 degrees colder than you'd normally expect, that's quite a lot.
I wonder if ours are about 10 degrees colder when we were racing.
Well, that's it. There's quite a few excuses coming right up now as to why that might be the case.
We genuinely have got some excuses now,
We have.
haven't we? Because what affects muscle temperature? Well, predominantly it's your size, and more specifically than that, it is your mass to surface area ratio, isn't it? So basically, stockier riders are better at coping with cold weather, whilst lanky riders aren't.
That's right, yeah. Not only that, there's also how lean you are. So leaner riders obviously have less insulation than riders who are less lean, which explains why you struggled and why my calves, and more specifically my ankles, remain powerful no matter what the conditions.
Essentially, some people are just hotter than others.
Well, that's another point, yeah. And again, why we always struggle, because we've never been called particularly hot.
No, never ever have we in any stretch of the word. Any stretch of the word? Any sense of the word, I think that's what I mean. It also works the other way around though, doesn't it? So some riders don't cope with heat quite as well. So for example, I will not be backing Mads Pedersen to win the Olympic Games road race in hot Tokyo next summer.
No. will be backing Chloe Dygart-Owen though.
In fact, the link between your brain and its ability to overcome the limits of your body is a really interesting one. We were recently alerted by Cycling Science on Twitter to a doctoral thesis by a man named Darius Holgado of Spain, which was entitled Executive Functions, Self-Paced Exercise and Cycling Performance.
Yeah, it's a quite fantastic piece of work actually. And while it doesn't completely disprove the theory that your brain governs your physical performance, it definitely really casts that theory into some doubt.
So basically, your brain can't really override your body's limits, even with things such as transcranium direct current simulation.
Yeah,
or
brain
even,
zapping,
yeah,
brain
or even
doping.
tramadol, which he also looked into.
Yeah, it's just doping, I guess, isn't it? So I guess in essence, while your brain can't override your physiological limitations in terms of your ability to ride fast on a flat road for 20 minutes, neither can it override your ability to overcome cold weather. That too seems like it's just kind of some inbuilt ability.
It was for me. I mean, I can't claim to be very mentally strong, Si, but I did really suffer in wet and cold conditions.
You did?
Once I got cold, I was at the point of no return. In fact, can I reminisce?
Go on, mate.
Back in 2007 at the Tour of Qinghai Lake, I sprinted to third place behind Alan Davies and Zdenek Stibar whilst wearing 2 base layers, arm warmers, jersey, a gilet and 2 rain jackets. And afterwards, my sports director, Eric van der Arden, who's a bit of a legend in cycling, came up to me looking bewildered and said, I never even sprinted with arm warmers, let alone all the other stuff that you had on.
Things that Van der Arden never raced Qinghai Lake, had he? And we all know how tough that race is.
Well, when I was with him, do you know what? Every race we went to, he had been on the winners list at some point. And then we once got to a race called the Grand Prix Cholet, and we said, Eric, your name's not down here as a winner. He said, no, it was always on the same day as Milano Sanremo. Anyway,
like that.
We'll be making a return to the World Championships later on in the show. We'll be discussing the controversial disqualification of Niels Eekhoff of the Netherlands in the under-23 race.
Before we get to that though, it's quite timely really, considering that the horrific weather we've been having in this country at least, and that, well, you've all been able to witness at the World Road Race Championships, this next announcement from here at GCN is really quite timely.
It is. After some very successful events this year, we are very happy to now announce that we'll be returning to the island of Majorca next March.
Yes! Majorca is such a great place to ride a bike. Whether you're super fit and super experienced or completely new to the sport, I mean, it doesn't get much better, does it? Amazing tarmac, lovely climbs, great scenery, great weather. It's like a mini cycling paradise.
It is, and we would love for you to experience that paradise with us. So the dates to get into your diary are the 26th and 30th of March 2020. And I will shortly be detailing all of the packages online, and also some early bird prices apparently for those of you who book early. So keep your eye on the channel and also in social media of GCN over the next week.
That's right. Now we have got to check back in with Mr. Travolta himself, Chris Opie, who actually, given that we've been talking about hardiness in cold weather, have a look at this from a recent shoot we did. Yeah, didn't want to see that, did you? Anyway, he has been doing the Zwift Academy, as you'll be well aware of. Has he graduated, Dan? And is his dream of turning pro still alive? Let's find out.
All right, I finally caught my breath after my 4th and final Zwift Academy race. 4 laps around the London circuit. I've literally just finished and caught my breath properly and gone through the results a little bit. I left myself with a lot of work to do in the final week, but it's been a really good motivator actually, because I've done 2 races yesterday and 2 again today, and I've had a brilliant string of results, which is much better than my first ever foray into Zwift racing, where I was completely obliterated. And I'm glad to say that I've turned that around. So I had a first in my first event, and then a second, a third, and then finished with the first as well. So I'm quite happy with that. And it's gone really well, and I've really enjoyed it actually. I've kind of found my groove for how it works, where you have to sit in the bunch, when to respond, how to respond. You know, it's not dissimilar from road racing in real life, but at the same time, it's not exactly the same. So you have to apply slightly different tactics. And for the first time ever, I've understood the power-ups. I've had a lot of help trying to get it all to work. So that's been good fun as well. The training sessions on the Zwift Academy was so much harder than I was expecting. Like I think I said last week, that I was sometimes considering maybe doing 2 in one day. So actually when it came to the races, it was quite enjoyable because, you know, you could sit on the wheels, you didn't have to be trying to maintain a certain power output. It's quite good fun. It's just nice to do something that I perhaps wasn't going to do without a reason for doing it, if that makes sense. So it's given me that extra motivation to try and train hard again. And I've really enjoyed that. But thank you for following the journey so far. And hopefully in October, we'll be able to bring you another update.
It's now time for your weekly GCN inspiration, which as ever is your opportunity to win one of 3 prizes. This week though, the prizes are different.
That is right. So we got some new ones. Third prize this week is a GCN casquette.
And every week.
That's right, yeah, you can either wear it peak up the correct way or peak down the incorrect way. You can even wear it backwards if you like. Interestingly, the men's road race, they all wore it peak down because, because of the adverse conditions. Yeah. Adverse conditions. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Second prize is a pair of the GCN Cycling Club socks. So whatever is fresh and hot that month, GCN Club members will know they get a new pair of socks every single month. And so not only will you get 1 pair of socks with your second prize, you also get 3 months subscription to the club as well, which is pretty cool.
So 4 pairs of socks in total for a second.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, top prize each week from this point onward is going to be some GCN fan kit. It will change potentially from week to week. This week it is from the Explore range, so you will get yourself a GCN jersey, which looks like that, and you're also going to get yourself the matching base layer, which Si and I were about to model for you, but we've, thankfully for you, decided to not model it for you.
To be fair, mate, I'm quite tempted to rock that out when I'm not cycling.
Right, this week then, winning the casquette, which you can wear peak up or peak down, is Josh, who sent this picture in from West Yorkshire. On my way home from work, this is an additional climb that I don't have to do, but when it looks as good as it did in the fading light today, I couldn't resist it.
Look at that. Mate, I'll be honest, I did not know that West Yorkshire had pavé like that. That looks like it's like fresh out of Paris.
Properly trained for Paris using that, couldn't
That's amazing. Can we have a little pin drop to tell us where it is, please? Because that's...
Otherwise, you're not getting your casquette.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to hold on to it until you tell us where. I like that, mate. That's inspired me. Cool, yeah. Anyway, I think a lot of people need inspiration to get to Yorkshire now after what they've seen. Yes. Really. That's dry, weirdly. Right, yes. Second place. We got this sent in by Thomas from Mannlichen. Epic climbing with teammates in beautiful Switzerland. Wow, that is beautiful, isn't it? Look at that.
Those are stunning, aren't they?
Yeah.
Snow-capped mountains can't be beaten as a backdrop to a bike.
It's almost like cheating, isn't it, when you got mountains like that in a backdrop?
Yeah.
That's quite amazing.
Or when you've got a lake in the background, like our winner of the GCN fan kit this week, Lars. This is Altedalsvatnet, which is a lake in the municipality, oh no, I've got more things to pronounce, of Gjesdal in Rogaland country it's in Norway basically, and it's a really nice lake. Enjoying the beautiful weather and the summer temperatures that surprised in Norway this past weekend. Wow. That is stunning, isn't it?
That really is amazing.
Not a ripple in that lake, is there?
Weird. Oh, that's absolutely stunning. Yeah, no, that is it. Yeah, it's got to be said, that's one of my favourite inspirational photos of all time right there.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and we will start with an update from last week's show where we talked about the bill to award Greg LeMond a congressional gold medal. And it has, Dan, been passed by Congress.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Although it now needs to get passed by the Senate.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and then President Trump, apparently.
That's never going to happen, is it?
Well,
actually, no, that's a bit of a no-brainer, surely, because I think Greg LeMond's first race back after being injured by being shot by his brother-in-law in a hunting accident was the Tour de Trump, wasn't it?
It's a weird sentence, that, isn't it, when you think about it? But yeah, it is true. Yeah, so fingers crossed for LeMond.
Yes, he'll surely get it by now. Right, we're going to stick dangerously close to politics for a few more moments. Now, I will confess, Si, that I never before had made the link between Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden and the French term for water bottle, which is, of course, bidon. But it's perhaps no surprise that someone more clever and a lot quicker than me has.
No surprise at all. But Brian de Groot, who is the owner of Dispatch Custom Bicycle Components, started producing these Biden 2020 bidons, which look very cool, but amusingly, he actually fell foul of a Facebook advertising rule which is aimed to curtail the influence of foreign powers on elections, which bizarrely is down to the fact that his social media, whatever it is, what do you call them? Agency, is based in the UK. So apparently they were deemed to be influencing the American election.
Oh, who knew that Facebook had rules like that?
I don't know. Right, now, change the subject. ever so slightly from elections to Unicorn P. I saw this on the Radovis the other day about the fantastic new finish on the already quite incredible Cane Creek EE Wings titanium crankset, which were very aptly described as looking like they've been covered in LSD-induced Unicorn P. When you look at them, you think, oh yeah, I see that.
It looks quite nice. Although I'm not sure that I'd ever put LSD-induced Unicorn P on my bike. Would you?
No, I wouldn't. But on the right kind of bike, I think they would look pretty badass. A little bit like we're going back to the 90s and the early
Retro
90s at that.
Klein.
Yes, exactly, yes.
But anyway, we shall go from 90s bikes and then fast forward into the future of cycling, because last week news dropped that the UCI and Zwift have joined forces, and that next year we'll see the first ever indoor cycling eSports World Championship.
That's right. We should stress that the decision was taken before the horrific weather experienced at the World Championships the weekend, but you can bet how many riders were wishing they were Zwifting rather than snorkeling around Yorkshire.
Yeah, that's right. Details are fairly scarce at the moment as to exactly what those events are going to entail. You can bet there's going to be a fair amount of testing and so forth, but what we do know is that at the top of Zwift's priority list is parity between the men's and women's events.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? And Zwift and the UCI are also working on ensuring that you get fair and trustworthy races. So a performance verification program that will guard against any kind of technological fraud, and also a rider identification program as well, where you ensure that you get a rider's correct height and weight as well.
Oh, well, that's going to give away how well you cope with cold or warm weather conditions, isn't it? Warm,
That's
I guess,
right,
if you'll
yeah.
be racing indoors. Right, we would like your help with something now. We are in the process of trying to create what we hope will be quite a funny video, but we can't make it funny without the help of you. It's all about the worst cycling infrastructure and bike paths and lanes that you have ever seen. So if you've got any near you, we'd love you to take a photo of it, use the uploader, and if it's good enough and funny enough, we're going to use it in that video. Just tell us where it is and why it's so bad.
Yeah, I'm going to get us started, okay, with this one, which is very close to my house, actually. As you can see, clearly denoted as a bike lane with a giant picture of a bike, and also the sign on that lamppost that you will very quickly need to avoid, and the lamppost being just in front of that large tree that you will then also need to avoid because it's completely obscuring the bike lane. I mean, you kind of know what Bristol City Council were trying to do with that bike lane, but it's just the positioning of it.
Save the trees.
Yes, exactly. We'll close Cycling Shorts now with a little bit of tech news from our mates over at Komoot, because they have just launched Komoot Premium. Now, this is a new offering, different from normal Komoot, which will become known as Komoot Maps. And this one is pitched at the even more adventurous among us.
Or among you. As the
Among
case
you,
may
yes.
be. Right, there are 5 core groups of features, which I'm going to read out to you now. So it's got a multi-day planner. The aim of that is to simplify logistics and planning of longer trips. Has on-tour weather, including a wind indicator. Now that's really handy because you always want to finish, don't you? Preferably with a tailwind.
Or you know when to stick it to your mates in the crosswind, don't you?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Probably not very, probably frowned upon in bikepacking circles, but you know.
Yeah, dropped you in the crosswind.
Exactly, yeah.
It's
I'll
got-
wait for you at the campsite.
It's got sport-specific maps, the ability to better organise your planned and completed tours, and exclusive discounts with retailers. And the price for that is going to be €59.99 per annum.
Per annum? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Who says annum?
I'm middle-aged. I'm not, actually. I'm a bit older.
It's because you always want to be an accountant, isn't it? €59.99 per annum.
All right. It is time now for Hack Forward/Bodge of the Week. Don't forget to get involved each and every week using the uploader, a link to which is in the description just below. Starting us off this week is Volker, who had this description: just super weird.
Well, it's a bit of a head scratcher, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I believe there's more interesting stuff out of shot there, because it looks like there's some kind of trailer attached to his seat tube there.
Well, 2 cassettes and 2 rear mechs, or a mid-mech maybe. You're going to get some super low gear.
Well, this is it. We're theorising that this is a bike designed for pulling heavy objects.
I can't imagine that front derailleur works specifically.
Particularly?
Yeah, particularly well.
Well, no. Is it zip tied onto the down tube? I don't know. It'd be interesting to know a little bit more about this bike.
Yeah,
but...
we'd say bodge on initial inspection, but that could serve a distinct and specific purpose.
Well, that's it. How slowly can you ride a bike? That's a video, isn't it? Yeah. Got your name all over it.
We've done that, Si.
Well, that's true. Actually, many videos.
We raced.
Anyway, right, moving swiftly on, unlike normal, we got this one sent in by Johnny. I believe, Dan, this is our second poo bag hack, isn't it?
It is, yeah. He said, after a ride down to Box Hill, a misaligned derailleur hanger led to the mech snapping off on the final climb of the day, but thankfully he was able to tie it to his chainstay using a presumably new dog poo bag. Still a bodge.
That is a massive bodge. There's a much better way of... Well, is there a much better way of fixing broken rear derailleurs? Actually, that one means that he doesn't have to split his chain and reattach it slightly shorter, bypassing the rear
you're going to say
mag.
hack now, are you?
I think so, yeah. I think that is the our second ever poo bag hack. Well done.
Yeah, anyone that's sending anything with the poo bag is probably going to be a hack.
It, yeah.
Next up, this one from Joe in Ohio over in the USA. I use this hack whenever I want a quick and easy access to an energy block or gummy. Works especially well when on the rivet and you can't be bothered with a back pocket. Let me just get it with your teeth, can you? I've seen others do this on their top tube, but stem-mounted gummies are better for the paint job and offer less risk of gooey nether regions during a dismount.
Oh my days, I'm not feeling that.
Literally.
Yeah, imagine how much crap gets washed up onto the
Well,
stem.
so just stick them on using the stickiness of the gummies.
Presumably.
Well, also, I mean, it could be good nutritionally because if you sweat as much as you do, Si, then you'd have the extra electrolytes as well, wouldn't you?
Well, that's true, yeah, just consume what you've just lost. Well, yeah, okay, maybe there's a point to that.
Bodge.
Okay, right, next up, it's very timely given the impending winter. This was sent in by Pete, who has added, like a mudguard extension onto his
rear one, yeah.
onto
Rather
his
neat
kinesis
looking
there.
that is as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
I'm going to say hack for that. I mean, for a winter bike, that's particularly neat and very clean, really.
Well, yeah, although, would you not be tempted just to have a full-length mudguard? I know he says these have got quick releases on them, but...
Well, yeah, because there's no rim brake there, is there? So presumably it'd be quite easy to get it through.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, bodge then.
Sorry, Pete, what are you doing with those?
Okay, next up we had this one, which was sent in by Evan. Why use aero bars to go faster when you can turn them to go more ergonomic?
Well, that's a very good point.
What's going on there?
That looks really
Surely that's
comfy.
not even more comfortable like that, unless you just hold them. Maybe it's one of those sort of, things, step things that you get in gyms.
Well, actually, to be fair, it looks more like he's had to put them in that position in order to lock his bike. Because otherwise, if they were down, look, it would hit the wall.
Well, that is true. He could turn his bike the other way around.
I think it's just a storage solution. Much like this one coming up next, sent in by Andy, a mobile workstation.
Homemade.
Yeah.
Got everything you need there. Storage for your tools, for
WD-40,
your
yes.
On wheels, you can take it around your large, extensive workshop. That's got to be a hack, surely.
I think that is a hack. That's lovely. Nice bit of craftsmanship there, Andy. Well done. And then this last one as well.
From Toby, vertical velo, storage solution for my bike at uni, made out of MDF and then used old magazines to decorate it.
Check it out.
Well, you're going to be the envy of every uni student that's into cycling.
And there's a picture of Brandy Wiggins looking at his bottom bracket there.
Are we on there?
Well, we've never been in a magazine, have we, mate? You'd have to pause a video, take a screenshot, then print it out.
Why didn't he do that? Right, if
you'd have got a hack if you'd done that.
Don't forget to continue sending your hacks and bodges. As I said, use the uploader. We do love going through them each and every week, don't we? We're going to go back briefly to the World Championships now because of that huge controversy which surrounded the under-23 men's road race where the initial winner, who crossed the line first, Niels Eckhoff, was disqualified.
That's right. So it turns out that the UCI officials had seen footage of Eckhoff drafting behind a team car earlier in the race following a crash that put him out the bag. And I think the problem was that he was behind that team car for a good 2 minutes or so, travelling pretty swiftly at the time.
Which is against the UCI rules, isn't it?
It is.
UCI rules which are flouted at pretty much every single bike race, and one which they normally overlook.
Exactly. How many times have you heard of a rider being disqualified for drafting behind a team car? Not many.
No, not many. But we might be able to hear about a lot more soon because it sounds like the UCI are going to really clamp down on this rule and make sure it is adhered to a lot more than it is right now.
Yeah, but I think there's going to be problems with that, aren't there?
Well, there are, because it does happen a lot in racing for a reason, and it's a good reason. It's not because people are trying to cheat. Now, I always give this example when people talk to me about this. If you happen to puncture in the first 10Ks of a Giro stage or a Tour de France stage, and the bunch is going flat out trying to establish a breakaway for the next 30, 40 or even 100 kilometers. If you don't have any assistance, you could be the most powerful rider in the world and you will never make it back to the bunch. And that will probably mean also that you're going to finish outside the time limit. So you could potentially, if they do adhere to this rule strictly, end up halfway through a Grand Tour with half the rides already at home.
Yeah. On the flip side, you can see why the UCI might feel that they need to adhere to this rule in certain situations, because when the public see a rider drafting behind a team car like that, and then the rider going on to win, it doesn't look good, does it? Because people don't necessarily understand why that situation has arisen and how it's not cheating.
No, I agree, it doesn't look particularly good, but then again, I don't know what the answer is to this. Do they apply the rules strictly, or do they say it's okay, but don't fight it for the win, but go fourth, that's fine?
Yeah, I do agree with you, it's got to be said. I mean, there are certain instances, if a rider gets dropped and then gets placed behind a team car, that should be an instant disqualification. If they hold on to the team car, that should be an instant disqualification. But, I mean, who would ever fall off their bike or have a mechanical and ever have that constitute an advantage?
No, it's hard behind the team car.
Well, that's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah, anyone who's ever tried to catch up 2 minutes to a peloton behind a team car knows that that's brutal. That's like a race-winning effort sometimes just to make it back to the peloton. So at no point are they ever getting an advantage or a helping hand.
It's a difficult subject, isn't it? But I think the fact that pretty much all current and former pros have agreed with each other that he shouldn't have been disqualified tells you most of what you need to know. And in fact, if you would like a much more eloquent opinion on this...
More eloquent? You mean just eloquent?
Well, yes, there is that, but I would suggest that you go over and read Larry Warbasse's article that he wrote for Roulette. We will link to that in the description just down below.
Can I offer an unpopular opinion now, Dan? I think sometimes we should stick up for the UCI commissaires, because I think, by and large, they do a really good job in a really difficult sport, and I think they're always just trying to do their best, aren't they? I mean, quite often, I think they're volunteers, aren't they?
A lot of them are, yeah.
And so, you know, I think we have to appreciate that cycling is so dynamic, and, you know, what one person might have seen on Twitter, a commissaire might not have seen during the race either. And, you know, even in football and tennis, which are such static sports, the umpires and the refs come into a lot of flack. Whereas cycling, like, a line is not just a line. You know, you can't have a Hawkeye camera on it. It's you know, anything can happen. You have to bend the rules.
That's what Larry said actually in his article. It's a very different sport. How many other sports are you treated by a doctor whilst continuing to play your sport?
Answers in the comments, yeah, I can't think of any right now.
Right, we would love to hear your opinion on this subject and what you saw in that under-23 men's road race. Leave those in the comment section down below.
Maybe sailing, like long distance sailing. You could still be on a boat, traveling somewhere and maybe receive medical attention.
It's now time for Caption competition, your weekly chance to win a GCN Camelback water bottle. Last week's photo was this one of Hank just after his hour record attempt on a penny farthing. It looks painful, and it was by all accounts. Our winner this week is Stefan Hofmeister, who put, if this record tells you anything, it is that current riders are putting extreme pressure on the next generation of cyclists. See what he did there?
Yeah, can we also have honourable mentions, by the way? A few people along the lines of Michael Strugnall. I won't be penny fathering any children now.
Yeah, there were a lot of those, weren't there?
Yeah, I thought that was great.
I laughed at the first one, not the 10th.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week's photo, I'll get in touch with us on Facebook with your address, we'll send this out to you, is from the World Championships on the way to Harrogate. I couldn't think of anything in terms of a caption, so I think she's coming up with something genius.
Oh yeah, I'm stepping up to the plate today, Dan.
Hand it over to him.
What a load of rubbish the men's road race turned out to be.
Yeah, brilliant. Right.
No, come on, you got to give it the water load of rubbish.
I did get it.
All right.
Just wasn't funny. Right, let us know your captions in the comment section down below for your chance to win a water bottle. Yeah.
It's Ask GCN Training now, that part of the show where we will answer one of your training questions, and whichever question we answer, the person who sent it in gets 3 months free subscription to Zwift, which is, well, super cool bonus, isn't it? Not only you get your question answer, you also then get 3 months free subscription to Zwift.
All you need to do is ask a training related question using the hashtag AskGCNTraining in the comments section down below. Winner this week with this question is Corey T. I've got fairly limited time to train and struggling to average 50 miles a week due to time constraints. My question is, would it be worth it to substitute miles on the bike for strength training, or am I better off just riding? His aim being a century next spring. Well, strength training is quite an interesting one, Si, and I did spend some time in the gym pumping iron many years ago.
You can still tell, Dan.
Well,
we
I
all
thought
can,
you might
can't
say
we?
that. No, I did. I spent 2 seasons in the winter where I was down the gym quite regularly, 3 times a week. And the following year, I did really well on the bike. But then I stopped it because I read some literature which basically said that cycling is a sport which is almost purely aerobic when you're doing endurance road cycling, and almost nothing to do with strength. The example being that almost anyone that you pluck off the street is able to do 450 watts. They're just not able to sustain it for more than a few seconds, as opposed to the hour of somebody like Rowan Dennis.
Yeah.
So I stopped it.
And then what happened?
I didn't do very well the next year, but I didn't at the time put 2 and 2 together. Anyway, subsequently, new research has come out which does show there's quite a lot of benefits to endurance cyclists for going into the weight room, particularly over the winter months, and you won't find many pro cyclists these days that don't do at least some each week.
That is very true, Dan, but Corey has stated that he has limited time to train.
No, there is that.
At which point, if you're struggling to do 50 miles, I'd say that it's definitely worth concentrating on the bike and doing really, really focused training so that you absolutely maximize that time spent. Except, I was thinking about this, so Corey, you might have to enlighten us here, but if you're limited on your ability to get out on your bike, what happens if you can squeeze in a cheeky little gym session or 2 during work time? Maybe go out during your lunch break and, as Dan said, pump some iron. If that's the case, and therefore it's additional training, then 100% go and do it. It will be of benefit, but otherwise, just smash it on the bike.
Right, don't forget to get involved with your questions for next week's show. Next up, we're going to go through a few of our favourite comments from the last 7 days of GCN videos. We've got 3 for you this week. First up, underneath how to slam your stem to go faster, easy for me to say. This is from Arna Says. First world problems. When I try this, my legs keep hitting my beer belly.
To be fair though, remember the video on it, actually beer bellies make you faster. You are far more aerodynamic with that front fairing that you've got there.
I must make more of an effort to get a beer belly.
Well, maybe just spend a bit less time pumping iron in the gym, Dan.
We had this underneath cycling's one-hit wonders from Nathan James. Not a win, but you can't forget Dan Lloyd's 161st at the 2010 Tour de France whilst riding for the Cervelo test team. And no, you can't, because I keep mentioning it.
No, you can't. No. Well, you weren't a one-hit wonder, were you there?
Well, there were a few
You had lots of mid-pack finishes.
I took a look at the comments beneath this comment, and there were a few mentions of a couple of the other wins that I had.
And a 3rd place at King High Lake, just behind Alan Davis and what's his face? Steber, yeah. Right, underneath the coolest job in pro cycling, Tim Tran said, I'm pretty sure that's the shadiest job in cycling.
Oh, I see
what
Tim
a
did
belter!
there.
Yes, we'll have to write that one down.
We'd have been so happy with that one, wouldn't we?
We would, yeah.
Right, on to what's coming up on the channel this week. On Wednesday, Chris Opie is going to show you some alternative training methods, which includes a parachute. So you'll have to wait and find out what that's all about. On Thursday, we've got 11 more things that you didn't know about Zwift. And then on Friday, Jeremy spends a day in the life of Sven Nys.
Oh man, I cannot wait to watch that one. I'm one of the world's biggest Sven Nys fans, and it's gonna be good. Right, Saturday, whilst we were over in Vancouver doing the RBC Gran Fondo Whistler, Jeremy also found time to sneak in a classic Vancouver ride. So that one is coming up, which is well worth a watch. And then on Sunday, we've got Hyperbike versus Superbike. So we built a Hyperbike last year. A lot of people said that we should have put it through its paces. We're doing it this time. So power meters at the ready. Find out just how fast a Superbike is.
We've also got some live racing for you over on GCN Racing this weekend. 2 more international cyclocross races available through most of the world. And we've also got the Grand Prix Bighelli on Sunday. And the day before that, the Giro dell'Emilia, live to the North, Central and South America.
It's one of my favourite races, that. Can you sneak me a little, you know, can I watch it? Well, I'm not allowed.
Well, I can give you a link, yeah. Nice, nicely.
Well, that brings us to the end of the GCN show, I'm afraid. Although, don't forget the GCN event in Majorca, so make sure you put that date in your diary.
Right, in the meantime, we will leave you with this video, which is about the coolest job in pro cycling outside of being a GCN presenter. It's with Mr. John Cannings. It's just down here.